Rowan, just obviously Paul Momorowski. What's the prognosis?
He had an MRI yesterday on a syndesmosis injury. It's a little bit more severe than the one he had a month or so ago that sort of healed quite quickly. He's going to see a specialist this week sometime to get a sort of time frame on it. We're hoping that it won't involve surgery, but at this stage we're not 100% sure.
And is this the same ankle?
Same ankle, yep.
So with it being the same ankle, does that give you sort of more cause for concern?
It's definitely more serious than the injury he had, which he managed quite well for a few weeks, to the point where last week he had no issue until he got it caught in an awkward position when we made that break down the right side. So it's quite sore at the moment. It's more serious than last time, but the extent of it, we'll wait and see what the specialist says.
Have you got a gut feeling just from sort of his manner at the moment as to whether it might be a long-term thing?
Not really. He's quite a positive character about injuries and how they heal, and he's very professional as well with it. So he always feels like he can improve things quickly. It's one of them. The high ankle sprain on the syndesmosis sometimes can be really painful, and then they can settle quite quickly and be manageable, but we're still with some pain. But we'll just have to wait and see.
Weekly roll call, really. Ash Handley, Harry Newman for this week?
Both unlikely, but we'll just see how they get going. Harry's had an epidural in his back, and his back's settling down well. He's definitely getting around much better, but he hasn't done any full training as yet. Ash is back to some quality movement. He's out there doing some skills and some running. We've just got to progress things towards contact.
With both of those guys, could it be something that you're suddenly able to put them in a day before or on the day itself, or is it sort of, are you able to rule them out early in the week?
It could be a bit of both. Obviously, we sort of a short turnaround. Those guys have been working away on their rehab in the background, but we're no training today. So we'll see where they are at tomorrow and make a call regarding the 21. I'd say they're probably both doubtful.
Any updates on Tom Holroyd and James Bentley?
Tom Holroyd's seeing a consultant. He had some ongoing symptoms which have sort of tapered off, but just the duration of those more milder symptoms, the club wanted to take precaution there and get it checked out. So he won't be available this week, and then we'll wait for that consultant review to take the path forward. James Bentley is making good progress in the last week or since we last spoke about James. He's certainly improved and pushing along with his training, which is really positive, but he's still he won't be back anytime soon.
You sort of hinted last week that you're resisting the urge to bring people in, given the fact that there's now Momorowski and Holroyd's now indefinite. Has it got to the point where you're going to have to bring someone in from outside?
We'll have the conversations, and we're always listening out and looking around and having conversations with player managers and people around the league. And often, sometimes people reach out, and other times clubs reach out. So we'll keep an eye out on that stuff. But also, last week was a great opportunity for a young kid that we have extremely high hopes for in Riley Lum to step in and get an opportunity, and he took it in his stride and did exceptionally well. And we've got a lot of belief and trust in the kids that are coming through, and they're working hard. They've been at it for a long time in our system, and it's exciting for those kids to come through that can be part of the future. So if someone comes along that can help us, in the short term, we'll consider it. But we're also very excited by those young kids, Riley and Ned and Jack Smith in our outside backs have done really well through the pre-season and on dual reg at Halifax. Alfie Edgell, stepped in and did a good job for us on the weekend. He's progressed well. Jack Sinfield's going well. Ben Littlewood and these kind of kids are progressing through our program really nicely. So if opportunities come for them, there'll be no hesitation to put them in and back them. And our senior players really believe in those young kids as well. So, on that side of things, it's really exciting for opportunity to come. and that'll put him in good stead for the future. And as players come back into first team, availability, then it makes our squad a bit deeper if the kids have had some experience too. So we're excited by that.
Just on Riley Lum, now you've obviously watched the game back. Could you just give us an overview on your thoughts on his performance, and have you known a better debut in recent years?
Yeah, I'm not great at looking back. I'm better at looking forward. But it's certainly a great performance from Riley. He caught my eye very early in the piece when I arrived. My first academy game that I went to watch, I turned to John Bastian after a couple of minutes or a couple of touches and sort of said, who's that kid? And we got chatting, and he's certainly someone that we've had in line to be a winger. He might end up a centre, who knows? Probably play a bit of fullback in his time as well. But I think he might be a really top-end long-term winger. He did well to get started as he did. We talked about building his game on catching his kicks and carrying the ball hard. And then the opportunities, if the opportunities came where he got a chance to finish or got into some space, then he'll do what he can do. So I really liked how he did the hard parts of the game, and then the other bits sort of got an opportunity on the back of that. So he's a good kid. He takes it in stride. He's got his feet on the ground, and great family. It was a big moment for his family and for our academy program as well to celebrate Lummy. He's been one in the waiting for a while. It was nice. Yeah, it was a nice start.
Yeah, it was a massive moment for his family. Who would you say might be the next cab off the rank then in terms of a potential debut?
Well, whether it's a debut or a second game or a third game, fourth game, those kids are all sort of training there and getting opportunities to step in and fill in sometimes at training when players are, on lighter duties or recovering from injuries. They get the chance at training, which can be very competitive at times as well. So, Jack Smith's done a good job at Halifax on dual reg there. They've given him a good opportunity. And then Lummy obviously did well. He's one game there at Fax, which was great. And we're really appreciative and respectful of that partnership that we're building there with Halifax. It's certainly helped us last week. Ned McCormack's training really well, and he continues to play at a high level in our reserves team. So all those kids will be in contention. We'll sort of wait and see tomorrow how everyone is and how everyone's recovered physically from the weekend and make some calls from there.
It got you back to winning ways, Rohan, but it wasn't as emphatic as some fans would have liked to see, and obviously Hull were aiming up. There's that mitigation. What would you say to fans that maybe aren't happy with what they're seeing at the moment in terms of the performances?
Yeah, that performance on the weekend, we're disappointed, and we see the frustration the same way that many of the fans do. That there was plenty of opportunity there to get further ahead. As you mentioned, that Hull competed really well. They scrambled to save a few tries. That to go with a few moments that we didn't have enough care or respect for the possession at times, that where another play the ball or two, we may well have scored and stretched the score out. But as you said, and I just mentioned, it's like the other team played well. They competed really hard, and they had a lot to play for and a great atmosphere at the ground. I thought it was for not a big crowd. Everyone was into it. It was noisy, and we're disappointed. We're working hard on improving our overall performance, but we've had other games. Not so long ago when we played St Helens at home, the first game. People are making comment to me that's the best they've seen Leeds play in 7 years. And we didn't win that day. So, it's sometimes you got to take the result and take the learns out of it and be happy with the win, but also know that you're chasing a better performance. Because I think the majority of us in professional sport would see, every win is better than any loss. Although you got to take the learns out of a win, and no one's satisfied with the performance on the weekend, and we feel the frustration of the fans, and totally respect and appreciate that people want to see better for longer, and we certainly do too.
At the same time, is it unfair to judge a side that's missing 6 first-team front-line players going into that game against Hull, and now, of course, Momorowski on the top of that?
Yeah, well, it certainly, it certainly has an impact. We had eight, I think, out of our top 25 not available last weekend or so, and we're dealing with like lots of interruptions and disruptions. We're trying to get some cohesion and some chemistry going, but when players are coming and going, it does make that difficult. And we're relatively early in the piece compared to some of the other opposition that are performing 2 wins better than us. Those teams have had a lot of continuity through their club for a very long period of time. We're not down the path like they are as yet, but we can see across the competition, like two wins separates the top 8 teams, which is a extremely close competition that's hard fought. Last year, I've been told that the separation between first and 8th was 8 points at this period this point in time. So I think it bodes well for a good competition where we've seen a lot of so-called upsets across the league, which I think makes for a great competition. But there's no shying away from that. We're chasing better performances that also lead to wins. Not just better performances, which we've had on a couple of our losses.
So London on Friday, back at home. Do you, having said all that and about the performance hall, do you feel like nothing more than an emphatic victory over London will sort of placate those people that are not happy at the moment?
Yeah, I think everyone, is looking for slightly different things. Some people tell me that all they want to see is just people just competing hard. Others, need the precise, aggressive, they want to see a 50-point win, which, that's not the nature of professional sport very often. So we want to improve. We want to get the best performance we can, but also understand that we're going to have a somewhat youthful team in some regard, which is exciting. It brings a different energy to things, but also the expectations of a 1 or a 2 game rookie are different to a 50 or 60 NRL game veteran, So we expect our kids to come in and do a good job, and overall, when they have stepped in, they've done that. So we're chasing a strong performance. There's no doubt about that. London are a very competitive team in many of their games. They work hard as a team. They're inexperienced as far as Super League experience goes, but a lot of those guys are tough, hardened veterans. So, they're not going to beat themselves. We've got to take it to them and get into a good grind and a good flow and see where the game takes us.
Just lastly for me, how do you look back on your time at London, and how crucial was it for your development when you look back?
Yeah, it was quite early days. I'd been at the Warriors for a couple of years under Daniel Anderson. Before that, I was fortunate enough, Tony Ray gave me that opportunity at the London Broncos. When I first arrived, we were in a really difficult position at the bottom of the table. I think we were on 6 points, trying to escape relegation in 2004. We had a good run at the back end of the season. I think we won 4 or 5. I think we drew high scoring draw against Leeds actually back then. Which was a big moment for the London Broncos. We had a veteran team in 2004, survived and finished the season quite well actually. Turned over, the roster got turned over and a lot more youthful in 2005. And we had a really good season, and we ended up sort of unearthing players like Thomas Luluwai and Luke Dawn that gone on to be legends of this competition. We got beaten in the playoff against Bradford, which was nothing to be too ashamed of. They were a powerful unit compared to us in London, but that experience down there was a tremendous one for me as a young coach who got to do a lot, and it's something that I hold very close to my heart. The time down there.
Just following on from what JD asked you before, I mean, the reaction to results and everything, it was all just sort of from outside looking. It was almost like hard to see that Leeds actually won from the reaction. Does that reaction from what was at the end of the day a win frustrate you or disappoint you at all?
Mostly my sort of the only exposure to the reaction, for myself is post game among some of the fans, and I share their frustration, and I know they work hard to travel home and away and follow the team, and they want to see a cracking performance every time, and that's what we're striving to do. So I share their disappointment and frustration in the performance, but going away to Hull and getting a win on a what had been a rainy day, and playing against a spirited team that had a lot to prove. It's still a win. We were the better team. We didn't fall over the line. We were the better team. We didn't win by a commanding scoreline, but there was no doubt who the best team on the day was. So any other sort of response to that through social media and whatnot, like I'm not seeing that stuff. But I communicate to other people in our club about what the general vibe is and stuff. And I feel for people. They want to see great rugby, and we do, and I do, and I don't want to just play boring rugby either. Like I want us to play in a style that can stretch teams and challenge teams, but also we've got to understand where we're at this point in time, and be prepared to grind games out and build our game. As I said earlier, we're still a relatively new group. We don't have the cohesion yet that other clubs have built over a long period of time, and we're 5-4, so we're in a position to build on that this week, which will put us in a reasonable position after 10 rounds.
What do you say to the lads who are active on social media, who look at like Twitter and things like that, and they see what the reaction is on social media? What do you say to lads? Do you tell them to sort of ignore it, or just not look at it, or what do you say to them basically?
Social media, I think in general is a great tool to share good messaging, to connect with people, and it's the way of of communicating and having relationships with people. So I see the upside of it, but I urge people to keep in contact with people that they know. It would be my overall advice, rather than people that you don't know. Constructive criticism, or asking questions, and I respect a lot of fans. They'll stop me in the street, walking the dog, whatever it is at the gym, and ask a question about what's going on. And I respect people's time, and I'll always give them the time if someone asks me a question. And most of the time, the majority of fans will understand a little bit better once they're given a bit of context to the situation. There's certain circumstances that people don't understand and don't see. You just see what happens on the field. But there's a lot more to it. So, you can't read too much into the social media stuff when you do well. And I also believe, when you're not playing at your best, you can't look too much into it as well. But also we've played some really good stuff this year at times, and we're 5-4. We're not like we're trying to find our first win here. It's not, nothing's ever as good or as bad. I've seen a lot over my time in coaching. Over a very long period of time, there's teams in the NRL that have, been 2-7 and won the comp. Newcastle won 10 or 11 games in a row last year to make the playoffs and win a couple of games. Like, things can shift quickly in professional sport, and we're chasing improvement. There's nothing, there's no hiding away from that. We want to play better, more often, for longer in games.
You mentioned Alfie Edgell. He came and obviously played centre the other day. Do you see him as someone who can play a number of roles, or would you consider maybe moving Alfie Miller perhaps to wing or something like that? I know he's played other positions in the NRL.
I see Alfie as versatile. He's played some six and obviously plenty of one in our academy, in our reserve system in the last couple of years. I speak to a lot of those young kids about, if they're willing and wanting to put the work into it, it's a great way to work your way into the squad to be able to play multiple different positions, because rather than waiting for one bloke to get injured or to run out of form, there's opportunities for them different, to play different roles. So Alfie's willing and wanting to do whatever he can for the club. Like, that kid, he he bleeds Rhinos. Like, he just wants to be part of it and support the club, the team, the players that he plays with any way he can. So, playing centre or wing is something that we'll explore with Alfie, as well as being a backup fullback.
Yeah, the not slightly off topic. That yesterday's match review panel, there were no charges at all. I think the first week there were like 16 or 18. Do you think that's is that a sign that the message is getting across to players, or is it a change of attitude from the MRP, do you think? And is it something you'd welcome? Obviously, no one wants to see 16 charges every round, do they?
Yeah, I think things that need to be charged should be charged. Some of the punishments and the penalties and just the overall process, I would question at times. But I think the sort of coaches, referees, match review panel in the last couple of weeks seem like we've lined up what everyone thinks and agrees with is a charge. Obviously, it's a case by case thing, and rugby league always throws up different situations and circumstances. But I think it's not a matter of having no charges for it to be a good week, but just balancing things out so that things that warrant punishment and penalty get them, and those that don't, they might need a warning or a mild caution rather than chasing suspensions or fines all the time.
I was thinking about that game in London earlier, actually, the one you mentioned earlier on, the 2004 one. That was a Liam Botham game, wasn't it? I think he was on loan to London from Leeds and kicked some goals from the touchline and salvaged a point. Is that the one?
Yeah, it was an exciting game in the sun at Brentford there. Liam was a great contributor to the back end of that season at London.
You mentioned Jack Sinfield right back at the start. Obviously, he's had to be patient this year. He's played some reserve rugby. Is he close to an opportunity, or do you still retain confidence in Crofton Frawley moving forward? How close is Jack to a chance?
Jack's ready. I feel in the last month or two he's grown, and his performances in reserves and in training, and his just general confidence. He's still such a young man, but he's really progressed in the last little while. And Jack and I have been talking about being ready and getting ready, staying ready, and genuinely waiting for that opportunity. I feel he's ready for that opportunity when it comes. I've got every confidence in all of our players, and as we've shown through the course of the season, there's chunks of good stuff. It's not all bad. So better for longer, and Jack is certainly waiting and desperate for that opportunity when it comes.
Yeah, I can imagine it's probably difficult when you are waiting on the sidelines. I mean, I don't know if he's confidence. Have you been pleased with his character and his sort of patience that he's shown while he's been waiting for this opportunity?
Jack is a kid with faultless. You can't find a blemish to Jack. Maybe he's too nice, but he's actually like super competitive. He's got that gene and that streak in him. But he's a tremendous young bloke. He's very accountable to his own performance. He's a team-orientated person. He's hungry for an opportunity, and we've been talking about what that pathway looks like and whether championship footy might help him for a period of time. But mostly he wants to be playing for the Rhinos, and he's hungry and eager to do that. He's a kid that's prepared to be patient, but he's also in a hurry as well. Like, he wants to play. So that's what you want out of every young player.
Would you consider a loan move for him? Have you had clubs knocking on your door asking if he's available?
We've had a couple of inquiries, but given the sort of status of our squad of late, we've had a bunch of players unavailable with injuries, and particularly those sort of longer term concussions, which you can't really account for those. They're a definite spanner in the works. So while they're not in the same position as Jack, that just our overall squad depth is important to keep enough fit and healthy people around to play each week. So we've had some inquiries. We've sort of put them on hold temporarily, but we'll revisit in the coming weeks.
There's a bit of discontent on the terraces now, as mentioned. Are you confident you'll come through this period and get the fans back on side? Yeah,
I am. The players are working hard. They're a very united connected group, whilst they're frustrated, with some of the aspects of our play or periods of our play. They're frustrated with themselves and each other at times because they care and they want to do well. They want to please, the whole Rhinos community. They want to do well. So they're hurting as much as the fans are at times. But as I mentioned, we've played some good stuff and we're 5-4. So it's not often as bad as what people seem, and equally it's not as good on other occasions.
Are you sensing a bit of anxiety from the players because of the atmosphere around the place? Not around the place, but you know what I mean, in the stands.
Perhaps so for some players. Like some players feel that energy, and most of all, I think players just want to feel like that we're all in it together. Fans, staff, players. Other administration, the board, everyone's going in the same direction, wanting the best for the Rhinos. So, maybe some do feel a bit of that tension around the place. We've spoken, at length multiple times about taking the learns out of games and wanting to be better, but also not carrying the divots. That if something goes wrong at the start of the game doesn't mean that's going to turn out a bad game. That's just a moment in the game. So, I think it's important that we all look and enjoy, each contest rather than spending too much time in the past. Is how I think you can enjoy the game better if you're watching this game rather than revisiting the last ones.
Yeah. Does it strengthen your determination to deliver success to the club and perhaps even prove your doubters wrong as well?
I'm as hungry as I've ever been. I love the challenge. I've been in coaching for a very long period of time. I made the choice as a very young man with no playing history to take on coaching, and there's a bunch of people, including people in my family, are like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" Given the nature of it, it's difficult. I was speaking to someone at one of my previous NRL clubs in the last few days, and they were saying like what a journey the whole thing is and can be, and also that every day is an opportunity to try and take the club forward, to improve, to learn as an individual, and I'm striving to get better. I'm seeking support and expertise from people within the club, and also some trusted mentors outside the club to help guide through this period. So I've got a lot of belief and a lot of hunger and desire to do well for everyone in the club, the fans, the board, and most importantly, do well for my own family and people that are close to me.
Yeah. Can you say who you are reaching out to, who you leaning on at these times?
Oh no, I'd rather not. But I've got a couple of people in very respected high positions that give me some good intelligence and some good support to how I'm doing things, and I ask some good questions that get great answers. So yeah, it's good to have people that are around you that can guide you. And I think everyone in every industry that's in a position of pressure, feels that as a privilege, but also it's their obligation to get the best support from other people that can help guide.